Some years ago, I was speaking to a theater colleague about transformation. He had decades of experience as director, dramaturg, producer, playwright, a serious professional. Suddenly he grew visibly upset and said to me almost angrily, "Andrei, I don't believe in God. What am I to do?" It took me some time to realize what it is that he was saying. Apparently, for him, accepting that transformation was real and actors could really transform and become someone else, it was like a religious claim, like a miracle. And since he did not believe in miracles, he concluded that real transformation on stage simply wasn't possible. That talk, that conversation stayed with me for a while. I kept thinking, if he cannot imagine that actors can really transform on stage, then what must regular theater goers imagine actors are doing? In life, we play roles all the time. We act smarter than we actually feel, tougher than we are, more confident, sometimes even dumber than we are if circumstances permit it or prompt it. We adjust to people we are speaking with and to the circumstances. How do we do it? We certainly do not become someone else. We remain ourselves and we put something on. Intonation, facial expression, gestures. With some people, we lean forward and mellow our gaze. With other people, we square our shoulders and speak more confidently. We perform, we adjust. And all the while, we continue to watch ourselves. Part of us observes as if from the outside. And it is very simple to assume that actors do exactly the same thing, only better. Some actors do just that. They pretend with finesse, skill, and nuance. They construct believable behavior. They imitate character, emotions. But then we hear something else, accounts from other actors, great actors, especially of the past. They say, "I forgot myself. I completely immersed. The audience disappeared for me. My whole being transformed. I became that person. I was there. I wasn't acting, I was living." If it is true and if they are not pretending, then what is it that they're doing? Because when they speak of this, they don't mean it symbolically. They are describing psychological, psychophysical, if you wish, physiological experience. So a question comes out on its own. Well, if these actors truly transform, then does it mean that transformation is learnable? Not a miracle, not an act of divine intervention. And that's where the story takes a turn. In the early 20th century, a Russian theater pedagogue by the name of Nikolai Demidov set out to answer exactly this question. Demidov was a closest associate of Konstantin Stanislavski, the founder of modern acting training theory. Demidov was also the original editor of Stanislavski's book, An Actor Prepares, and that book basically is a textbook for every acting school all over the world. Demidov, at the very same time, was a trained psychologist, psychiatrist, and medical doctor. He was a dedicated yoga practitioner and also a distinguished athlete. So he looked at acting not only as an art, but also as a psychophysical process deeply rooted in close observation of how human nervous system functions. So that background caused him to question some of the dominant theories of actor training. Demidov observed that when actors relied heavily on intellectual analysis, planning, and willful control, something vital was lost. They disconnected from their bodies, from the impulse, from each other, and ultimately from the audience. But when this interference was reduced, then something appeared. Life. Real life on stage. And I must say that this brought him to realize, to come up with this assumption that creative process is not about control. Creative process is actually about allowing. And when actors get out of their way, when actors simply begin to channel the character, allowing the character to speak through them, feel through them, think through them, that's when they're at their best. Now, that does sound a bit mystical, doesn't it? So Demidov actually went about defining transformation in practical terms. He came up with the idea of creative reflexes. And these are automatic responses that are trained through repetition, like physical reflexes. So Demidov concluded that if actors were to be trained to yield to these merely perceptible urges, to these subtle sensations, to have formed thoughts and channel them, that will bring them into the creative state. And that matters far beyond theater, because whenever human beings need to respond creatively in the moment, scientists, artists, speakers, teachers, athletes, you name it, leaders, whenever they have to respond creatively in the moment, then the same rule applies. When you over-control, you disconnect, and when you yield and surrender, you connect. At a graduation ceremony for our Florida Acting MFA program, the father of one of the graduating students approached me and said, "I really like what you teach." I asked, "How do you know what I teach?" He said, "My son explained it to me and it makes perfect sense." "What do you do?" I asked him, because I thought he was an artist. He said, "I am a negotiator. I negotiate multi-million-dollar deals. 1 second before I'm about to say the words that seal the deal, I am empty. I have absolutely no idea what I'm about to say." Now, actors, of course, are given the script. They cannot improvise the lines, which is why Demidov taught actors how to submerge the lines deep into their subconscious. Then they taught them to toss away the words, to empty deliberately and momentarily. And what followed actually came from intuition, came from instinct. And because the lines were deeply submerged into the actor's subconscious, because of that, these impulses did not come from the actor's everyday self, they came from the character, from the actor's transformed self. And that's how, with time, transformability was trained. The results were observable. Behavior no longer needed to be constructed on stage. Emotions and character no longer needed to be imitated. The performance was alive. It was spontaneous and unpredictable, but at the same time, it was coherent and true to the play because actors lived in the circumstances of the character. The director Peter Brook once said, "On stage, I usually see imitation. Rarely I see transformation, and almost never do I see transfiguration." Actors' ability to surpass their capacities as they are known to them and others. Demidov taught just that, not by mystifying it, but by demystifying it. So what do we say to my theater colleague who said, "I'm sorry, I don't believe in God"? What am I to do? Transformation is no miracle. It is what human beings naturally do when they get out of their way. Transformation, even transfiguration, begins when we restore these lines of connection. Thank you.